Keep in mind that when there are high barriers in these countries, oftentimes that's when a lot of American companies feel compelled, if we want to reach those markets, we got to go produce over there. If the tariffs are down, if the taxes are down on goods made in America, that means U.S. companies that are investing here are able to sell over there without a disadvantage. That's what American leadership looks like in the 21st century. That's why this agreement also sets high standards for one of the fastest growing regions of the world. This agreement has the strongest labor standards of any trade agreement in history, including setting fair hours, prohibiting child labor, prohibiting forced labor. It includes the highest environmental standards in history.
The president made his comments yesterday at the Department of Agriculture, and joining us on the phone from Capitol Hill is Republican Senator Orrin Hatch of Utah, also the chair of the Senate Finance Committee. Senator, thanks very much for being with us.
Well, I'm happy to be with you. I hope I can add some knowledge here.
Well, you heard what the president said yesterday, but you're calling this a poor deal. Why?
Well, I didn't necessarily say it was a poor deal. I felt that it's woefully inadequate, and maybe I shouldn't have used the word woefully because a lot of people picked up on that, but I think it was a fair word to use. You know, we have yet to see the details of the deal, so final judgment, it seems to me, has to be reserved on the overall package until it can be, thoroughly examined by not only me but other members of Congress. And it will be thoroughly examined because once the president submits it, we have 90 days to examine it, and we'll just have to see what happens.
And this means intense debate early next year, also an election year. So what can we expect on Capitol Hill, and will he have support for this?
Well, I'm not even sure that it'll come up next year. It's going to take, it'll be a while before he can even submit it for the 90 days to run. So we'll just see what happens. But, we have yet to see the details of the deal. So final judgment, it seems to me, has to be reserved on the overall package until it can be thoroughly examined. But fortunately, Congress did act to pass Bipartisan Trade Promotion Authority earlier this summer, and TPA ensures Congress that the American people have the opportunity to review the deal in full before it's considered for a vote. So that's going to have to be undertaken. And, in the end, for the deal to be called a victory for the U.S., it must meet the objectives of Bipartisan Trade Promotion Authority in that particular bill. And it has to be something that will work for the American people. And we'll just have to see what happens.
So let me follow up on that point. What would that look like? In your mind, what should it be?
Well, until I take a look at it, there may be some aspects of it are just perfectly all right. You never know. And I'm sure there'll be some things that'll give me heartburn, but are they enough to cause me to go against the deal? We'll have to see. The United States has been involved in negotiations for the Trans-Pacific Partnership for about 5 years. A lot of work, a lot of time has gone into these negotiations. I think the administration deserves thanks for their commitment to free trade. And TPP in particular is important because it's an historic opportunity to break down trade barriers for American-made products with a trade bloc representing about 40% of the global economy. Those are 11 other nations, plus ours, 12. It's a very important area of the world. That 40% of the global economy, that's almost half of the world's economy. So it's fair to say the administration's announcement has major implications on American workers and businesses.
And based on what we're hearing from the White House, the administration is hoping to get Republican support because unions are expected to line up against this trade deal, bringing along a number of leading Democratic senators who will oppose it.
Well, it took Republicans to pass the bill to begin with. We only had 13 Democrats, and we had to at least get 60 votes. We got 62. A good TPP agreement can do a great deal for our economy. If the deal is robust and it's balanced, it will have the potential to enhance our economy by unlocking foreign markets for American exports and producing higher-paying jobs here at home. But if the deal is a poor deal, it risks losing what I consider to be a historic opportunity to break down these trade barriers for American-made products. The final details, like I say, of this deal are not yet public, and it may be weeks, if not more than that, before that happens. And once the president does make it public, then there's a 90-day period where it can be reviewed. I've been concerned by a number of reports that have emerged about the details of the deal. So, I'm very concerned about it.
And as I understand, this is an up or down vote by Congress. Under the fast-track rules, you cannot
That's
amend
right.
the agreement, correct?
That's right. It's an up or down vote, and the fast track provides for that. Fortunately, Congress has a bipartisan tool to examine and scrutinize the administration's trade deal, the Bipartisan Trade Promotion Authority bill. So under TPA, the administration has to demonstrate that the Trans-Pacific Partnership meets over 150 congressionally mandated trade objectives. And it can't go into force without final congressional approval. Now, with TPA, the bill that we've already passed, the Trade Promotion Authority bill, Congress's rigorous oversight of trade agreements is reaffirmed by allowing lawmakers to see that the needs of their constituents are met in any trade deal. And TPA also makes sure there's enough transparency for Congress and the public on TPP. So the details of TPP are not yet made public, but with TPA, the public's going to have at least 60 days to review the pact in its entirety before the president signs it and sends it up here to Congress for consideration. That may be a while off from now, because the administration will first have to formally notify Congress of their intent to enter into the agreement. So that being said, over the next several days and months, I'm going to carefully examine the agreement to determine whether our trade negotiators have followed our TPA, Trade Promotion Authority, mandates so that the agreement meets Congress's criteria and hopefully increases opportunity for American businesses and workers. So, that's what I think.
And finally, Senator Hatch, while we have you on the phone as the chair of the Senate Finance Committee, you would be front and center in any debate on changes to America's tax code and tax reform. A number of leading Republican candidates for the presidency outlining their agenda. Is there any chance that next year, in the final year of President Obama's administration, that Congress would tackle the issue?
You mean on tax reform?
Correct.
Well, there's a chance, but I think it's going to be very difficult in what's going to be a very competitive election year. So I think you're probably going to have to wait until the next administration comes into being. Let me just say this: in the meantime, we are going to be working on, on international trade matters and whether or not we can bring that $2.2 trillion that's overseas back to the United States. We'll be working on that. I know that I'm working with Congressman Paul Ryan, who chairs the Ways and Means Committee in the House, and of course our senator from Ohio, Portman, who is a former trade representative. We're working with him as well because we'd like to get these things done for the benefit of our country.
Republican Senator Orrin Hatch, the chair of the Senate Finance Committee, joining us from Capitol Hill. Thank you very much for being with us. We appreciate it.
Well, nice to be with you. Let me just leave you by saying that the Trans-Pacific Partnership is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, but because of that, we should not settle for a mediocre deal. We have to ensure that TPP sets high standard trade rules in the Asia-Pacific region for years to come, and is in the best interest of our workers, our job creators, and of course our farmers. So appreciate your interview on this, and hopefully this helps people to understand a little bit better.
Senator Hatch of Utah, thank you.
Thank you.